This video is an extension to the Making Bowls tutorial, and in this example we're going to look at how to model the two-sided leaf bowl that you can see here. So let's jump straight into Aspire, and we'll go and create a new file working with a double-sided job and have a width of 20 inches, a height of 12 inches, material thickness is going to be 2 inches. Into 0 off the same side, where the top side will be off the material surface and the bottom side will be on the machine bed. XY datum position in the lower left hand corner. We're going to flip the part horizontally or within the X axis, and then we're going to go ahead and press OK. So we're going to start by drawing the leaf shape. So we're going to go and draw a polyline. Just going to click somewhere around the bottom here, and I'm going to pull this out, and then I could just simply click that in place over there, and I'm simply just going to go back on myself and snap to my start point. Let's close out of there. I'm going to take that vector, we're going to go into node edit mode, right click to turn that into a Bezier span, and I'm simply just going to pull this out to create some curvature in the vector there. I want to insert a point here and just bring that out, and then I'll take this node here and I'm just simply going to pull that out. Then all I'm going to do here is just tweak with the actual shape of the part, so we've got nice curvature that represents sort of leaf shape. Okay, so something like that seems okay. I'm going to pull that out a little bit more. Perfect. Let's right click on this span here and we'll do the same. So to Bezier this span, let's just pull this handle out, right click somewhere around here to insert a new point, and we'll just bring that out, and you can see straight away we're starting to see this leaf shape. I'll pull this in so we've got some nice curvature along the bottom, and then we'll take this handle here and we're just going to pull that out just to give it a bit of roundness towards the back end of that leaf. Okay, and then we're going to pull that out just to round it off a little bit more, and then bring that down. Okay, so let's just have a look at that. Let's take this handle and I might just move that over to the right a little, and then maybe pull that out a little also. Okay, so I like the shape of the leaf that we've got there. Just press F to fit that to our screen. And with that vector, we're going to take it, we're going to create an offset vector. I'm going to offset that inwards by 1/2 inch. Then we'll go ahead and press offset, and that will create the border for the top of my bowl. We can close out there. Get back into the polyline tool, we can look at drawing a handle. I'm going to pull that out somewhere like that. Come across, it's roughly around 2 inches thick, then bring that back down, and then simply press tab on the keyboard to close that. Select the vector, we'll go into node edit mode. So I'd like to smooth the corners of our handle here, so I'm just going to box select those nodes, press S on the keyboard, S for smooth, and I'm just going to pull the handle down like so, and then take this handle, pull that in also, so we've got a nice curved edge there. Coming over here, I'm just going to smooth this point here, smooth that point there, and then we'll just bring that in like so, bring that one in, and then over here I'm going to insert a point into the roughly into the centre of that span. I'm just going to pull that right out so that when we come to create a shape, the shape's going to blend nicely into the actual leaf bowl here. Okay, so I like what we've got there. If we press F, we can fit that to our screen, right click to come out of node edit mode. And so here we have the basic shape for our leaf bowl. Next, what I'd like to do is I'd like to look at adding in the detail that will sit within the recess of our leaf bowl. So this is going to be the dished area. We're going to input some veins just to give it more of a leafy look. So to do that, let's go over to the polyline tool. I'm just going to snap to this point here, snap to that point there, and I'm simply going to go back on myself. Then I'm going to come over roughly around here, pull a vector out to snap to the border there, and again come back on myself, and we'll do the same over here, snap to the point, snap back on itself, And we'll do the same for the bottom side, like so. And then we'll do this one over here and back again. Close out there. Okay, so we've got the basic vein shapes. Now I need to just go into node edit mode for each one of those veins just to create the actual shape. So into node edit mode, we're going to select the vein that runs through the centre of the leaf. I'm going to right click and use the option to Bezier, so we've got these handles. These handles will be able to provide us with a little bit of curvature. Okay, so just going to pull that up like so. Then we're going to right click and Bezier the bottom span also, like that. I'll bring that over like so. Then we can do the same for all the other different veins. So I'm going to take this one. First I'd like to just shrink that down a little. Right click to Bezier, take the handles, pull them out to create curvature. Right click to Bezier that span. Again, drag those handles like so. Do the same here. Let's just shrink that one down so it's in with the vein. Right click to Bezier, take the handles, pull that out. Right click again on the other span, set it to Bezier and then pull those handles out like so. This vein here, we're just going to pull that over so it's overlapping the central vein. Right click to Bezier and then take those handles and pull that out. And right click here also, and we'll take this handle, shift and select that handle and pull that out also. Last one, I'm going to put that over there. Right click to Bezier and then simply pull that out. Then right click on that span and take those handles, shift to deselect that handle, and then we'll move that out also. Okay, so you can see the veins are overlapping into the central vein, so we know that when we create this shape everything will blend in with each other. What I might want to do over here is just look at inserting another point, and then we'll just look at pulling that out just to provide it with a little bit of thickness at the edge there. And we can see that we still have a nice looking vein there. Perfect, so let's just right click to come out of node edit mode and we'll press F to fit that to our screen. And so the idea here is that the veins that we've got here will be raised shapes, and then each section between the veins will be a recessed shape. So to help me create the recessed shape, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this vector here and hold down shift, and I'm just going to box select all of the vein vectors there. With them selected, let's right click and use the option here to copy to layer, new layer, and we're just going to call this one leaf recess and then press OK. Go to our layers bar at the top, switch off layer 1, make leaf recess the active layer, and now we can look at creating the subtracted areas. And so to do that, we're going to create a series of offsets. So let's take the leaf vector, so we're going to go and offset that inwards by 0.1. I'd like to use the option here to delete the original. Offset that. I'm going to take the central vein, I'm going to offset that one outwards by 0.1, again delete original and offset, and then I'm going to select all of the other veins and then again go outwards by 0.1 and offset that. And we could close out there. So there I have all of my offsets. Now all I need to do is just to trim our parts into their relevant sections. So let's go and use the interactive trim tool. So here I'm going to come over and just snip at the areas that we don't need. Get rid of that and that. To the bottom here, over here. And then the last one up here, and there we have all of our individual sections. And like I say, these areas will be recessed. So let's go back to our layers and switch on layer 1. We can see the overall part as a whole. So all of the vectors are in place. All we need to do now is bring in some circles that represent our dowels. So we're going to go and draw a circle. Diameter is 0.33. I've measured my dowels and that's what they're coming up as. So I could just randomly place these dowels in position like so. Then we could close out there. And I'm going to take the dowels. So with that selected, hold down Shift, select this circle and this circle. I'm also going to select the handle and the outer vector. I'm going to right click and use the option here to copy over to the other side. So then when I come over to the other side, you can see that I've got my handle, I've got the leaf outline, and I have my dowel holes. So now we have everything ready for us to start modelling the leaf bowl. Staying on the bottom side, let's go to the Modelling tab and right click on level 1. I'm going to rename this and just simply call this one Model. I'm going to take our leaf vector, let's tile our windows so we can see both the 2D and the 3D view, and I'm going to go and create a shape. So let's go the shape profile 90 degrees, no limit, to see how that looks. Okay, you can see we have a rather bulbous shape. This is very impractical for the bottom of a bowl. So what I could do with doing is using the option to limit to a specific height, and we'll just see what 1 inch looks like. Okay, that's not too bad. Might want to make that a little deeper, so we'll look at putting that to 1/4 of an inch. And I also might implement a base height here of 1/8 of an inch. So we're going to have a base height of 1/8 of an inch followed by the actual height that we're limiting it to. And if we apply that, you should see it raise a little, but still remain fairly flat. Okay, so there's the underside of our bowl, so quite thick there. So it's coming up as 1 3/8. Okay, so now let's have a look at the handle. So we'll just call that one leaf, and then we'll start a new component. Here we're going to select the handle vector, and this time we're going to go the round profile of 90 degrees, and here we're just going to limit the height so it's a little bit smaller, so we're going to make that 1/4 of an inch, and I may just want to have a base height there of 0.2. Press apply to see how that looks, and then we'll just set the combine mode of that to merge like so. Okay, so that doesn't look too bad, and what we'll do for the other side is pretty much apply the same settings so that ultimately we have quite a thick handle in there. Perfect. Right then, so let's just give that a name. So we'll go and call that one handle, press apply, and simply close out of there. So that's all the components for the bottom side. Let's go and switch back over to the top side. Now before I create any components for the top side, I'm just going to go to my Layers tab to insert a new layer. We're going to call this layer Components. As I have quite a lot of vectors here, I don't want my component grayscales obscuring my vectors. So I'm going to create the layer called Components, and I'm going to move that to the top of the list. And that way when we create the components, I can still see my vectors as they'll be in front of that components layer. So let's go to level 1, right click, rename that level. I'm going to call this one Model, and then we're going to go and start by taking this vector here and this vector here. So looking at the border, I'm going to create quite a raised shape there. So let's go into the create shape form. So here we're going to go with a round profile of 90 degrees. Okay, I'm just going to input a very small base height of 3/8 of an inch, and then we're going to limit the overall height of that to 1/8 of an inch, and then we'll give that a name. We'll just simply call this one border, press apply, and we can see how that looks. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Let's go ahead and start a new component. So now we're going to look at the handle. So here we're going to go create shape, round profile, 90 degrees. Base height, so we're going to do the same as the other side, so 1/4 of an inch there, and then we're going to limit the height of that to 1/4, and then we'll set the combine mode of that to merge, and we'll simply call this one handle, press apply, and we can see how that looks. Perfect, blending nicely into the border there. Okay, we'll just put that in Z, and we'll go ahead and start a new component. And so here I'm going to select the inner border vector, so just put that back in Z, and then in the 2D view I want to take this vector and just apply a flat raised shape here. If I take a look at that, if I was to create that shape, there will be areas of my overall model that would simply have holes in because we're not overlapping the vector and the pixels aren't obviously touching. So to help eliminate the holes that we may have within our model, I'm just going to take that vector into the drawing tab and offset that ever slightly by 0.1. Okay, like so. Maybe even a little bit too much, so I might Control Z to undo that and then go with 0.05, offset that, perfect, and then I'm going to take that vector there, and if we just press F to fit that to our screen, I'm going to go into the modelling tab, and here I just want a flat shape that is 1/4 of an inch. Then we could go ahead and give that a name. I'm just going to call this one base. Press apply, and you can see it's just lifted that up ever so slightly. We can put that back in Z, then we'll start a new component. So now I'm interested in creating the recesses. So we're going to take all of those big shapes that we created earlier, just shift to deselect that component there. So you can see I've got all my vectors selected. Here we're going to go with a round profile, again 90 degrees, just to give it a real full shape. This time we're not going to have a base height in there, and I'm going to scale this to an exact height of 1 inch. So we're going to make it 1 inch deep, set the combine mode of that to subtract, and then we'll simply just call this one recess, and then press apply to see how that looks. Okay, so you can see how the part is looking there. Got some nice sunken curvature in there for our bowl, like what we've got there. And you can see now we've got this flat area where the veins should go here. We're going to look at modelling those on top of this flat shape. So let's go ahead and start a new component, and then in the 2D view I'm just going to maximise the 2D view so I can carefully go in there and just select all of my vein vectors like so, tile the windows, and then use a round profile 90 degrees. This time I'm going to set the final height to have no limit, set the combine mode of that to add, and then we'll simply call this one veins, and then we can press apply and we can see how that looks. Perfect, so I like what we have there. So let's just close out there. Let's maximise the 3D view. What I'd like to do now is just look at giving this a general finish so that the veins blend in with the subtracted areas. So a simple way of doing this is to create a new level. So right click, insert a new level, rename that level. We're going to call this one leaf, and then with that level, the active level, I'm going to use this option here to create a component from visible model, and it will create a component based on the current composite model that we can see here in the 3D view. So let's click on that. You'll see it's created that model, and if I switch off the model level and just minimize that, you can see that we now have one component that represents all of the components that we just created there. Excellent. So with that model in place, I'm just going to use the smooth filter. So here we're just going to apply a smooth so that we get a nice blend between the veins and the actual subtracted area. So you can already see that is much softer. Might want to maximise that, and then we'll bake it, and I'll look at applying another filter there. So you can see it's just working there to do that, and again we'll just maximise that to see how that looks, and then we'll bake that, and I think that what we've got there is looking pretty good. Okay, so we've got some nice smooth transitions in there. We can close out, and then that is pretty much our top leaf model complete. And so all we need to do now is add tabs to both sides of our model. So let's just tile our windows, and then we're going to go insert a new level, rename that level. We're going to call this one tabs, set the combine mode of that to merge so it blends in with our leaf model. And then we're going to go into the clip art tab, and I'm just going to use the 3D tabs that we've got here. I'm going to use the rectangular tab, and then I'm just going to bring that over and then roughly position that in place, like so. Okay, then what I'd like to do is just create copies, just so we've got enough coverage of our leaf bowl to ensure that it's sat securely in place with our material block. Okay, we'll just rotate that one over there, take another copy, oops, take that, control, and bring that over there, and then just rotate that a little, another copy over here, and again we'll rotate this one, and we'll take one more and just move that over here, and again we'll just rotate that around also. Okay, so let's go into the modelling tab. We're just going to take all of those and we're just going to group them. Let's go into the properties. So you can see the current height is 1/4 of an inch. I'm actually going to halve that, or make that 1/8 of an inch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy these tabs over to the other side, and then they'll have a combined total height of 1/4 of an inch, which is pretty reasonable in this example. So let's right click there, we're going to say copy to the other side, and then let's just jump over to the other side now. Insert a new level, rename that level, we're going to call this one tabs, and we'll set the combine mode of this level to merge. Put those tabs in there, we can see them in place like so. Okay, so looking good, perfect. Let's put that back in Z there. And then one final thing I'd like to do is just look at adding in a plane. Because we're using a finishing tool, a round tool to finish the part, only the centre of the tool will ever touch at 0. So we're just going to drop the plane down past 0 just to ensure that our finishing tool can get past 0 and eliminate any cusping that we may have around the edge of our model. So to do that, let's just insert a new level, we'll rename that level, we'll just call this one limit plane, set the combine mode of this level to merge, put in a 0 plane, and then on the properties there we're going to introduce a negative height of 1/8 of an inch. So I'm just going to go the same diameter as my tool. That should do the trick, and then we can close that down, and we're pretty much now at a stage where we can go and create our toolpaths. So let's switch over to the top side, and then we're going to go and switch over to our toolpaths tab. So the first thing we want to do is just check over our material setup. So here we're working with a material thickness of 2 inches. XY date and position will be on the lower left hand corner. We're going to set the Z0 for the top side on the material surface here. Model position in material, I'm going to make sure that is in the dead centre of our material, just to allow for any inconsistencies in the material thickness. So we have a gap above and a gap below there. And then we could check over the rapid Z gaps above the material home and start position, and then go ahead and press OK. So as ever, our first operation here is to select our dowel holes, and we're going to run profile toolpath, where we're going to cut into our material block. So we're going to cut down by 3/4 of an inch using a 1/4 inch end mill, and machine on the inside, and then we're simply just going to give that a name, call that one profile dowels, press calculate, and then we could preview that, and that's our dowel holes in position there. Perfect, let's close out. Next operation, we're going to run a 3D roughing toolpath. Okay, so here we're going to use a 1/4 inch end mill again. Machine and limit boundary. Now, as I have a level here for my tabs, I'm going to use the selected level option, where we're going to use the leaf as the boundary, and that will include my tabs so that we don't cut them away. Boundary offset here of 0.125, and then we're going to have a little machine allowance to ensure that we leave something on our part for our finishing tool to cut. And to cut this in a Z-level, rastering the x-axis, give that a name. We'll just simply call that 3D roughing, press calculate. That's going to calculate that for us, and then we could go and preview that toolpath. Excellent. Okay, so now what we can do is we can close out, and then we're going to run a 3D finishing pass. So here we're going to use the 1/8 inch ball nose. We're going to use a selected level. Again, we're going to use that leaf level, put in an offset of 0.1. So for the machine strategy, we're just going to do this in a raster strategy, and then we could just simply call that one 3D finish, press calculate. That's just going to take a little bit of time. We've got a bit more detail in here, and that will calculate that for us. And we could go and preview that once the preview toolpath form is open. There we go, so the preview toolpath form is now open. We can preview our part and we can see what that looks like. Okay, so it's looking pretty good. It's got all the detail there. So we can close that down, and that is the top side now complete. So now we can switch over to the bottom side. So most importantly, we just want to glance over the settings in here. Okay, so we've got correct material thickness, XY is in the lower left side. For the bottom, my Z0 is on the machine bed. That's correct. That's what I had set up right at the start of this job. So we're always referencing from the same face. Everything looks okay there. So first operation here is to take our dowels, and we're going to go and run a profile pass, and the profile pass is going to go directly into the spoil board, and that's going to create our location holes for when we flip our material over, our part will be aligned. Okay, so the start depth for this is going to be your material thickness. Okay, so that's 2 inches there, because we are setting our Z0 from the bottom of the block or the machine bed, and we're going to cut down 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch end mill inside, and if we work our way down, we're going to call this one profile dowels, no material, just to remind myself, and make a note that this is for the spoil board only. And then we'll just simply calculate that. It's going to warn me that we're cutting through our spoil board. That's correct. That's what I intend to do. So I'm going to go ahead and press OK. Let's take a look at that. So you can see it's coming down by the 2 inches of the material thickness, and then it's going to begin its passes cutting in at the dowel holes into my spoil board. Okay, let's just put that in C. I'm not actually going to preview this, as I don't intend to actually cut into my material block. This cut is going into the spoil board, not our block of material. So let's just undraw the visibility of that toolpath, and we'll just close out there. And then we can go and run our 3D roughing pass. So again, 1/4 inch end mill, selected level, I'm going to use the model level. Same offset, same machine allowance. I'm going to do a raster X, and then we'll just call that one 3D roughing and press calculate there. That will create the roughing toolpath for the bottom side. We can preview that to see how that looks. Perfect. And then we can close out there, and then we simply run our 3D finish pass. This time we're using an 1/8 inch ball nose. Again, we're going to use the selected level, the model level, as our machining limit boundary, and that will accommodate our tabs along with our limit plane to ensure that we remove any cusping. Boundary offset 0.1, we're going to do this in a raster pattern. Call that one 3D finish, press calculate, and again, it's got much finer detail to work with using a smaller tool, so it's going to take a little longer than what it did with the 3D roughing pass. Okay, and so now it will open up the preview toolpath form, and then we can go ahead and preview that toolpath like so. If we maximise the 3D view, we can see that it's cut past the past the 0, and so that will eliminate any cusping, and that is my final part. Okay, so there we have our leaf bowl. Okay, so at this stage what we'd do then is we'd simply just close out. Once we're happy with everything, we could then go and save out the toolpaths for the bottom side, switch over to the top side and save out the toolpaths for those also. So let's go ahead and save this file. So we'll go to File, and then we'll use the option to Save As, and we'll simply call this one Leaf Bowl. Press Save, and then you can access that from your project folder. Thank you for watching.